Okay, good Monday afternoon. I hope everybody's had a great day. My name is Barbara Velasquez. As a coordinator of international intercultural education at Metropolitan Community College, I'm excited to have you join us for another presentation in honor of Native American Heritage Month. National Native American Heritage Month recognizes the accomplishments of the peoples who were the original inhabitants, explorers, and settlers of the United States. During this celebration at MCC, we celebrate the rich histories, diverse cultures, and important contributions of our nation's first people. Today's speaker will take your questions throughout her presentation. If your mic is silenced, feel free to send your questions to the host through chat. Your questions will be addressed at breaks designed throughout. Your continued attendance at International Intercultural Education programming could qualify you for recognition throughout the year. To be considered, complete the online evaluation and include your name and contact information. The online address will be on a slide at the end of the program. It is mccneb.edu/IIEEVAL. According to powwows.com, brightly colored ribbon skirts are a traditional piece of clothing for many Native American women and girls, as it honors their heritage and is a way to represent themselves as well as causes, such as the missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. The Farmington Daily Times states, skirts in Native American communities are more than fashion. They represent resilience, personality, and are used to highlight social issues. Please welcome Sophia Ford, the 2020 Fort Omaha Virtual Intertribal Powwow Princess and member of the Bad River Band of Ojibwe people, who will lead the ribbon skirt demonstration. Sophia? Need to, yeah, get
Okay, there we go. Yeah. I was like, it wouldn't let me unmute myself. Okay, hold on. Just so I can see everybody. Okay. Are we good? Am I unmuted now? Okay. Buju, Najne Quen Dishnaka, Smokwendo them, Mushkizi begin Donjiba, Ojibwe and Ishnabe Quen Dao, Made Quen Dao, Ashiningo Daswa Nima Bunigis. Hello everyone, my spirit name is Najne Que, which means when the fog descends to the earth woman. My English name is Sophia Ford. I'm of the Bad River Band of Ojibwe people, but I currently live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm 16 years old and I'm the new 2021 Miss Fort Omaha Intertribal Powwow Princess. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for joining to come watch my demonstration on how I make ribbon skirts. Not everybody makes ribbon skirts the same way. Some people have their own techniques or like their own way that they like to do things, but this is how I like to make my skirts for people, and I also do sell skirts too. So this is also like something that gives me an income. But so to start, okay, I'm gonna take this off real fast. But so to start, you're gonna need fabric, thread, scissors. We use a rotary cutter, a rotary mat, and then a ruler, a sewing machine, obviously, bobbins, an iron, and an ironing board. So to begin, I wrote this out. Ooh, won't flip. But so when you go to the fabric store, these are the yards of fabric that you would need, because there's different sizes, obviously, for people. So for toddlers, you would get about 1 yard. For youth or teens, 2 yards, and then adults, you can get 2.5 to 3 yards. And it all just depends on how big or how small the person is. So let me flip this. Okay, so this is my rotary mat. And for the measurements, what you want to do is get a measuring tape. And I just had mine in my hand. But what you do is you measure the biggest part of your body. That could either be your waist, your hips, your bottom, but I cannot find a measuring tape. Oh, here's one. So what you want to do is you would like to get you measure the biggest part of your body. So today I'm going to be making a youth skirt. And for the measurements, we have the width. I always like to write stuff down too. Width being 20, and then the length is also 20. This is just a little girl's toddler skirt. And what we like to do before cutting, we do math. So for the length, you go from where you want the skirt to start all the way to where you want it to end. So let's see if I can show that. So if you can see my ribbon skirt, I like them to start about my waist area, and I like them to reach all the way down to my ankles, because traditionally skirts are made for the spirits, and for us as Ojibwe people, we are taught that the men are supposed to wear pants and that women wear ribbon skirts, so when the spirit looks down on you, they can differentiate between the two genders. So as Ojibwe people, that's what we believe, that's what we follow. And we make ribbon skirts obviously to please the eye, to please us as a person, but for us also, we make all of our clothing to please the spirit. That's what we want. We want the spirits to be happy, that we want them to look at us and and say, those are my people. Those are the ones that I fought for. So that's what we believe. So, they can be pretty, they can be, big and flashy, but you don't try to be selfish and only think of yourself. We always think of the spirit before anything else. So then you go from your waist, you would measure from your waist all the way down to where you want it. And you can have it go from above your knee, below your knee. You can have it go wherever you want. I have a couple skirts that are knee length for conferences, or you're just going out. And then just to measure the biggest part of your body, you just wrap it around, and then you just grab it, and then you take that number. So then what you do is for your waist, for a teen or adult skirt, we like to add 20 and then divide by 2. But for a toddler skirt, you add 15, then divide by 2. And for the length, you just add 4 inches. And what we're doing is we're giving us enough space for our hems. So what the hem is just just to make your the bottoms of your skirt straight, and then the top part for your elastic. So that would be your bigger hem. So if we take this, so I know you guys cannot see it, I will show it in a little bit, but you add 15, divide by 2, and then you add 4, which gives you 24. And this gives you, if my math is right, I think it's 17 and a half, but there's the numbers that you use. Can you guys see that, or is it like blurry? So then what you do, I have 1 yard of fabric right here. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to iron out your fabric, which I've already done. So you're gonna open it up and you're gonna iron out all of your fabric. And then you're just gonna fold it, we call it hot dog, but the long way. So then you make sure everything is even from top to bottom. And then you bring it to your cutting mat, which will be right here. And so let me set this out real quick. So now that, now that we have it all lined up, your first one this first line right here is not going to be straight, so you have to straighten it out. And you try to get your fabric as straight as possible. And then what you do is you just line it up. I hope I'm not in the way. You just line it up on the, I always just do like an inch or so. And then you just cut it with your rotary cutter. Are there any questions so far? Any questions? And this you can just throw away. So then you bring it back up and I think I lost a piece of fabric. So then you take your length and it's 24. So you grab your straight edge and you take it down to 24 and you just line it up. And you want to make sure all your edges are lined up. So now that you have your first one cut, what you're gonna do is fold it again in half. And you're gonna make sure that everything is lined up. And then trying to think of which way my mother puts it. Okay. So then now that you folded it back in half, you're gonna divide that number by 2. And that'll give us 8 1/4. Again, I hope I am not in the way. All right. Then you just take your straight edge. Yeah, okay, so right now, I'll take questions too. Are there any questions so far? Or are we good on that. Okay. If we're being honest, I've only messed this up one time. And I hope I don't do that today.
Sophia. Sophia,
Yeah, is it going?
we have a question of what type of fabric is used, cotton, or does it matter what the fiber content is?
We use cotton. You can also use satin, but it is a little harder to work with. But cotton is what is mostly used. Yeah. So this is my mother, Jennifer Connors, and I don't know if we can see her. She is the one who taught me how to sew skirts. I've been sewing since I was 10, but we're gonna flip this back around. She is like the star master worker, I'll say.
So right now it's at 17 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 layers, front and back.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now you're gonna take it back to the ironing board. And we use these, I don't know what these are called. Hem guides? We use these hem guides. You don't have to, but they are easiest for us to work with. They honestly just make everyone's life easier. I'm gonna bring this closer. So this is a 1/2 inch. So this will be used for the bottom and the top. And then this is 2 inches, which will be used for the top hem that your elastic will be in. So that again is this top half right here. You can also like cut it out of paper or anything. You can honestly make them at home. And you can also just use a ruler or a measuring gauge. That's what I used in home ec at sewing class. You can, no, we saw you duck. So then you just take your iron and you just choose whatever side. I have a measuring gauge right here too. These are easier, in my opinion, but it takes longer to work with. So for this, what you would do is you would just put it to your desired length. So if I have 1/2 inch, you just take it and you just fold your fabric and you'll get like a little marker. I don't know if you guys can see that red marker right there. But you just fold your fabric over and then I don't know if you guys can see that. Can we bring this closer? Just pick it up. We good? All right. So then you just take it and then you just line it up to the end of the ruler part, and this top red marker or whatever color yours is will line up with your fabric. And then you just iron it down as you go. But for a hem guide, I like to work from right to left. It's just easier for me. So you just take it, you put it on your fabric, you fold your fabric over, and then you just line it up and iron it. And then you just move it down and you iron it again. And if you say you cannot do this, I have 2-inch nails. So you guys can do this, I promise you. And you can also eyeball it too, you know, nothing's wrong with eyeballing it. So for your bottom hem, you just get your straight edge and then you're gonna do it again. So you do it twice. So then again, you just fold it over and you iron. And if there are any questions, you know, feel free to unmute your mic or put them in the chat. So then you just iron it flat. Then what you do is you take your fabric and you want to flip it. And be careful because the fabric will be super hot. Oh yeah, and if you're see, this pattern isn't really going a certain way. The butterflies are just all over the place. But if your fabric is going up and down or side to side, you know, put your bottom hem at the bottom part of the pattern and then your top hem at the top part of the pattern. It just makes everything look cleaner. So then, you know, you're just gonna iron this out and make sure your pattern side is facing on the iron board and then the wrong side is up. Right side down, wrong side up. So then you're gonna wanna get a straight edge again on the top hem. So you're just gonna take this and you're gonna take your 1/2 inch and just iron it again. So then once you have that straight edge, what you wanna do is not burn yourself because I just did that. You're gonna take your 2-inch and you're just gonna fold it over. What I like to do is fold it over more than what it should be. And then I just like to push this down. It just makes life easier. Yes, again, this is the 2-inch. And this will be at the top. Again, this is for elastic. This is your top hem. This is the hem that you'll be sewing at the end of your skirt or at the end of the process. So then once you have this done, both of your hems done, it should look something like this. Is what we call the right side, your pattern side, and then the lighter side is what we call the wrong side. So you'll see that it'll be folded over on both. And then you're gonna do the same thing to the other side, but I'm gonna take you guys over to the sewing machine and show you guys how to thread your machine so you can hem it. So every sewing machine comes with a set of directions on the machine. So right here we have a brother and your where your thread would go would be on top, but we use this type of thread. You don't have to use this type, but it also, you'll need this, a thread holder. But just for now, I'll show you guys how to thread it. Take the bobbin out. So this is where your bobbin will go. So to take it out, there will most likely be a little button, and it shows you too that there's an arrow pointing out. But for your, should I do a bobbin first? Yes, okay, I'll do a bobbin first. So I'm just gonna take my thread. Normally what you would do is you would take your smaller piece of thread, take your clip, put this on, put your clip on, bring it around. And then there are directions on the top too that show you, but you'd go here on your bottom clip, bring it around behind the metal piece, and then you just bring it along. And there are little holes on your bobbin, but instead of going through the top, you go in through the bottom. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I am going in through the bottom, and then you just push it on your machine. And this is the key part. So what you do is you just push it over so your machine knows that you're going to be making a bobbin. But I am not using this thread, so I'm going to put this thread away, put this clip away, and then take this. After a while, it just becomes like muscle memory. If you need to lick your thread too, you know, that's cool. Ooh, doesn't want to go through. And sometimes it is hard to get the thread through this hole because it is going through the opposite way. So then again, I just put it on there. Nothing really changed with this thread. The only thing that's different is just where it's sitting. So then you take one side of the thread in this hand. You can drop this side, but I like to hold it so you can guide it. The machine will guide it for you, but you just start off slow. Oh, okay, it wasn't pushed in all the way. But you just start off slow and you just go until you can see a little bit of the thread, like a little layer, and then you cut the string that you were holding, and then you just let it go. You can go fast or slow, doesn't really matter. But you just go until your bobbin is full, and the machine will automatically stop. And again, if there are any questions, you can put them in the chat or unmute your mic. I'm just gonna speed up the process real quick. And see, like that, the machine will stop. And then I like to leave what we call just a little tail. And then you can just leave that up there for now. So then to thread your machine, you just follow the numbers or the way that it goes. So then it wraps around this first clip back here, and then this little piece that sticks out, you go through there, you come down, go up, and then there will be like a little hook in here. I don't know if you can, it'll be like right here. So there's a little hook in there. And what you want to do is just slide the thread around. So basically all you have to do is just bring it from the right to the left. You can't see it. Yeah. And then you just bring it down. And then there's a little piece down here. I don't know if you can see this. There is a little piece right here. And you just put your thread behind that. So then it just clips on. And then you put your thread through the eye of the needle, which I cannot do some of the time. Yeah. Can you come do this, please? Mom. So then, while I'm waiting for that, I will show you guys the bobbin. Huh?
You can thread the machine per the instructions on your machine. Not all of them are the same, but they're pretty much the same.
So then it just goes through the eye of the needle or the little circle in the needle or hole. And then you just bring it behind your foot. We call this a foot pedal. No, press your foot. My fault. The foot pedal's on the floor. So then you take your bobbin. Let's see. Can you guys see this? And you want your thread facing to the left. So like this. And then you just drop it in. And there will be like, hold on. I want to. Is that a better view? So then you just take it under this piece and then around. And then what you do is you hold this piece with your left hand, and then there will be like a little dial on the side of the machine. My cat is in the way. And then what you do is you just, here, can you set this back up? And then, so you're holding that piece of, no, I'm sorry. You don't hold the bobbin, you hold the first thread. And then you just twist this towards you. And then you'll see that your needle will go up and down and it'll catch the thread on the bottom. And then once it's caught, you can just tug on this thread a little bit to grab the other one and you just pull it through. And then they'll be uneven and I don't like that. So I just like to clip them the same length and then put them behind my presser foot. So once your machine is threaded, you can take your cover and just hook it back in there. And then where's my, oh, right here. Excuse me. Thank you. Appreciate it. So with the wrong side facing up, what you're going to do is you're just going to, I like to put mine on the second setting only because the needle's in the middle. And then you just line it up and you want your hem closer to the top, not the bottom, because on the top, you know, you're trying to hem these two pieces of fabric together. And then you just sew a straight line. And my thread just came out. And sometimes that'll happen. But so what you want to do is just sew your straight line, and we call it a back stitch. So you always back stitch at the beginning and at the end. That's just so your threading doesn't fall apart. So then you just take it and then you just then at the end you're just gonna cut at the end of your fabric and take your other side and just cut off the tail. And I do not like the way this is sitting. This is just so you guys can see everything. All right. So now that your bottom hem is done on this side, you take your other piece of fabric and do the same exact thing. And don't worry about your top hem right now. So then you just line it up and start. Make sure you backstitch, and you don't have to go fast too. You know, you can always go slow. Then you just take it, clip it, and clip your tail. I don't know where my, oh, right here. All right. So then you just clip your tail, and this just goes in the garbage. Your thread just goes in. Any extras that you have from like sewing or like cutting the fabric can just go in the garbage because we don't reuse any of it. So now we're gonna go back to the mat. Oh, that was really bad. There's so many pictures of me. So now that we're here, we're just gonna extend this up real fast.
You guys can make sure that when you're doing your hems, that you iron both sides at the same time. It'll save time later. As well as when you're sewing, you only want to sew the bottom hem. That's the first thing that you're gonna do is sew the bottom hem, and then the top hem is going to be the last thing that you do when sewing the skirt.
So now what we're gonna do is, so I like to, this just makes life a whole bunch of easier. You know, as a sewer, you learn your tips and tricks. So I just like to line my two bottom hems up, and you can either pin them or they also make sewing clips, whatever you prefer. I prefer sewing clips because they are easier to take out when you're sewing. So these are our sewing clips, but we also do use pins. So yeah. So then you just take them, and I just like to line up the corners, nothing special, just to make sure everything is even. So then you just make sure all your sides are even, and then you just line it up on your mat on the bottom line. And for your ribbon, you can just, I just like to choose pretty colors that go with the pattern, you know. You can do your clan colors, your tribal colors. It's just whatever your heart, like whatever your heart desires. So then I just take it and take the tape off if I can. Normally I can, but it's not if it's in the cardboard. So then you just line it up, and I always like to give at least like a inch on each side extra. So then you just take your scissors and you just cut like an inch extra, and then depending on how many you want on each side. So let's say I wanted, sometimes I like to reverse my patterns. I don't know if you guys can tell on my skirt, but there are also ribbon patterns. So if you're doing like 2 on this side, then you're gonna cut 4. So then you can have them for both sides. But right now I'm only doing 1 color on each side. So then you just take it, line it up again, run it all the way down, and then cut it. I don't want to burn myself again. And then same thing for the other ribbons. You don't have to keep lining it up. As soon as you have your first one, you just take it and go. And if it's a little longer, that is okay. And if it's a little shorter, that's okay, because we did give us an inch on each side. an extra inch. So then you just take it, line it up. Once it's lined up, you just snip. And then same with, it doesn't matter how many ribbons you use either. You know, some people like full decked out skirts, some people don't. Some people only like 3 ribbons, some only like 4. It just, again, depends on however you want it. So for placement, I just do it, I like to do at least like 3 or 4 inches on the bottom. That's how much I like to leave. So just gonna line this up again. So I think this time I'm gonna do 3 inches. So 3 inches from the bottom is where you would place your first ribbon. So then that's right there. And then before I start actually laying them down, I just like to line them all up, you know, just to see how they look together. And you can also, my fault, you can also have them where they are apart. Just make sure that they're even. And this way, you do more sewing when they are apart than when they are together, because you need to sew down each side, but when they're together, you only have to sew down 1, 2, 3, 4. So then, like I said, as a sewer, you learn different tips and tricks, and what we learned is Elmer's glue works best for laying down ribbon, because everything else gunks up your needle, or if you pin it down, you know, it gets all loose, or your ribbon will get bunched up, or it just moves out of place. So then I just like to do a little squiggly line. And again, you don't need a lot of glue. And then you just flip it over and you pull taut. And then I use the lines. And then once you have it down, you just lay it down. And then after that first one is done, you just keep adding them on top. And if it gets on your fabric or like the other side of your ribbon, it's okay, because it's washable. Elmer's glue is washable. Oh, and so the ribbon has 2 different sides. It has a shiny side and a dull side. What you're putting down on the right side of your fabric is the dull side. Not all of them have 2 different sides, but many do. So then again, you just glue it down. And then you would just flip it over and do the same thing, but for time, I'm only going to do one side. So now you go back to your machine. So now that we are at the machine, I like to do a zigzag stitch only because it is easier. Oh, shoot. I'm supposed to iron this. You can iron it. It just makes the glue dry faster. You don't have to. I like to. Only because it just helps it from not moving. But so on the side of your machine, there should be like a whole bunch of different stitches that your machine has. And my stitch, our zigzag stitch, is the number 5. So I'm just gonna push it up to 5. And then I like to, you can play with these numbers on the right side just to see how you like your zigzag. It just makes the stitching bigger or smaller.
one thing that I wanted to show you ladies that I noticed that Sophia forgot to do, in order for your ribbons to line up perfectly so that you don't have them kind of off-centered, is once they're at the bottom, remember we had these clipped together so that the bottoms of the skirt were even. So she laid down her ribbons. One thing you can do is I always flip it over and flatten it out. And then I'm gonna take the next set of ribbons and we wanna put those down right away so that they line up exactly with the ribbons that you had on the first side so that you can get your ribbons pretty much perfect. I always say nothing is ever perfect. God never made anything perfect. So as best as you can to line that up. I glue a little differently than Sophia does. She does a zigzag, I do a top and bottom. So it's kind of basically whatever you feel comfortable with.
Everything is off your preference, you know, how you like to work, how you like to run things, because not everybody does everything the same way. And again, some people may sew their skirts differently. This is just how we do it.
We've been sewing, I've been sewing for many, many years. I've been sewing ribbon skirts for a lot of years. And these are a lot of the tips and the tricks that I've seen that work. This is not how I started out making them. And this is probably not how I would continue if I find something new that works better. So this way, if you can see this, your ribbons are pretty much lined up perfectly. So when we do sew them down and put them together later, they should be pretty much on spot even.
So, not all presser foots come like this, but you do get a variety of them. You know, this part of your sewing machine should pop open. It may be a little different than ours, but it does come with a little kit and it comes with extra or different types of presser foots. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then just basic things that would help your machine.
The presser foot that we have on there, I don't know if you can see clearly enough, but it's called an applique stitch presser foot. It has a clear piece through here so that, and then the center, you can clearly tell where the center is, and then it has a clear, so you can actually see your fabric and what you're sewing through your presser foot. I know if you order them on Amazon, they're about $5 or so for an applique stitch presser foot. It will be your best friend.
It will be, because I don't know if you guys can see this, but can you come hold this, please? So what I like to do is I like to line one side up on the ribbon and then one side up on the fabric, and you're just gonna sew a straight line.
Well, zigzag line.
Well, it's, yeah, but it'll be straight. So then you just start, and always make sure, you know, you back stitch. So go a little bit and then back stitch. And then just go. And another thing, your stitching might not, whoa. It might not line up. I need to set up my machine.
Okay, well, Sophia's setting up her machine. I don't know
Yours is.
what's going on with mine. I'll have to look at it. Sometimes what happens, if you look at the stitching, I don't know if you can see, I'm just gonna take it out. But sometimes if you don't thread it properly, I don't know if you can see this. This is what happens when the tension is not correct. It starts to bunch up. It should not do that. So if it's something like that, where it happens, your stitching is not perfect, then you can always take it out using your seam ripper.
Okay, so we are going to take it over here. I just didn't want to continue with that machine only because it throws you guys off. So again, you're just going to line it up, and I'm going to use black on this because white is a little harder to see. I need my tripod or my handy dandy phone holder, I'll say. All right. So now that this is set up, we are just going to go. Okay. Again, if there are any questions, just put them in the chat or unmute your mic. And a lot of people mistake, like when you're sewing, you're not pulling it, you're just holding it. You're guiding your line. So then the machine can just push it through. So then again, you're just gonna cut your excess off. And I just like to cut my tail right away, only because it just makes life easier in the end. But this is what it should look like. Just a simple zigzag stitch. And you're just gonna do it on all of your ribbons just so you can tack them all down. So again, you're just gonna line it up. And then when it's like this, I like to have half of one ribbon and then half of the other. You're just gonna go reverse stitch and then just keep it straight. Your hands are gonna be like walking backwards. Again, you're gonna back stitch and then take it out and just flip them. And then grab your tails and just, I'm sorry guys, you could not see that. And then just clip them again. So again, just line it up. So just a little bit and then reverse back and then keep going. And you're not gonna wanna start off as, like, you're not gonna wanna go as fast. And if you missed a reverse, that is okay, because I just missed one, but you just wanna get it on there. And if you missed it though, that is okay. So then you're just gonna take them. I just like to pull them to the front and then cut them and go again. Oh, I like to go this way. I only like to go this way just because it's easier for me to line them up and go. You don't have to flip it, but you can flip it if you'd like. I just ran out of top thread. So when that happens, you just take it, pull this, and then you just cut. And then if you ever run out of bobbin too, you just do the same thing. So then I'm just gonna rethread this one more time. It'll become easier and faster once you get going. Oh, I'm gonna be all up in the camera. So then you just take it and you just wanna put it through the eye of the needle. Gee, it won't go through. It's always like a game with me, like if I can get it through or not. But this is taking up time.
Sophia, we're nearing 5 o'clock and we might lose some people. If you want
Okay.
to just kind of describe how you finish things out, that is okay too.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm just gonna finish up this one ribbon real fast. And then so when putting it together, we do what you call a French inseam. So once I have this ribbon set, I will show you guys that. And I think,
Yeah, we're kind of cutting it close on time. So once she gets done with this,
I'm just gonna do both sides together.
I will show you how to do that inseam, or she'll show you.
If you need to stop too to do your back stitch, that is okay. So then you do that. And what I like to do is just cut your excess ribbon. It just, again, makes life easier in the moment.
And again, it depends on how you prefer to sew. I cut the ribbons off before. Sophia likes to cut them afterwards. So it all depends on what you're gonna feel comfortable with doing.
So, okay, I'm just gonna cut this one and I can always come back to the ribbon.
So we only sewed one side with the black so you can see what needs to be done. But for time purposes, you will sew all of your ribbon down before you put it together. So make sure you do the front side and the back side sewing of your ribbon.
Okay, so now you're gonna go back to the rotary table. It's just basically like a lot of back and forth. Ow, that hurt. Okay, so you are going to line both sides up, wrong sides together, and you're gonna wanna shake out your hem. So then what I like to do is just go this way. And you're gonna line up. You can either use clips or, pins, but you're just gonna line up everything. I like to do, one clip on this side and then go one clip on the other side. You can clip it all the way up if you want to, but you just want to make sure that everything is straight. Huh?
You can see when she's matching the sides here, ribbons are lining up perfectly. So that's why we suggest to do, when you're gluing, to do it at the exact same time.
So then you just do the same on the other side. Oh, and when you go back, you're gonna wanna make it a straight stitch. When we go back to our machine, you're gonna wanna make it a straight stitch again. So you can either just shut off your machine, turn it back on, or just move the buttons down. So now that the ribbons are lined up, I just like to do maybe just one or two. So like one up here and then one up here. And it also just depends on how big your skirt is. So if your skirt was like a larger skirt, you would put more on the sides just to hold them together. I know. So then you just, again, line everything up. Oh, shoot. And just clip them.
When you're pinning them together or clipping them together, you can see Sophia's at the top here. And you want to make sure, remember we ironed it, that hem, we are not sewing that hem closed. You want to keep that hem all the way open. So you have the two pieces, you're sewing that hem all the way open. If there's any questions about that, please feel free to ask about it. But when
It's just
you're sewing it, you want to make sure that you're not sewing that hem down. You're not sewing that hem closed yet.
So then you're gonna come back to your machine. Okay. And then you'll just, who put that there? I sure didn't. So then you just line it up, and then I just like to, you have to do an inseam. So I just honestly just like to go at the end of my presser foot because you don't want it to be too big. And then once you have it even in a lined up, you can just unclip it and then start sewing. Make sure you back stitch again and just let her go. Take out the clips as you go, and pins if you're using pins. Normally you do not have to do this. And I am just going a little faster on my machine because of time. And then you just take it, and then you just, again, line it up. I like to use the end of my presser foot. It all just depends on.
It's kind of like a 5 standard sewing machine measurements.
Again, you're not expected to sew this fast. I have been sewing for 6 years. And it may be a little tricky at first, but it's all just keeping everything straight. That's all you want. So then once you have your back stitch, you're just going to cut all of your excess thread. And then you're going to go to the iron board and just flip your skirt inside out. Oh, my fault, guys. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to trim
your hem.
Yeah. So not the top or bottom hem. Do not cut the top or bottom hem.
Side hem.
So you're just going to take it, get as close as you can to the thread without cutting it, and then just cut. I like to use a rotary cutter if we're being honest. It just makes life easier. You can also use your straight edge for this, but I don't have one. I don't know why that just popped up. So then you just like line it up. You're gonna want to stand to do this too, but for the sake of time, and I just like to flip it. My dominant side is my right side, so I like to have the longer piece of the fabric going towards the left, and then you're just gonna line it up and cut. And if that happens, do not rip it because your fabric will fray. You can also take scissors if you do not have a rotary cutter. And then what you're going to want to do is just flip it. I need to sneeze. Flip it inside out. And then just give her a little shake. And go over to your ironing board. Normally you would see two sides of the fabric, the thread. And then what you want to do is just iron down your hem. And I cannot do that. So again, you're just gonna like pinch it out sort of, or just go. And
You're
then
taking and just making a crease on that hem. What it's called is a French seam, so that you're hiding the fraying edges into another stitch, so that when you wash it, there are no frayed edges that is going to be seen within the fabric. So you're just pressing it out. I don't know if you can see right here. You kind of see that seam. That's that first seam that she sewed on the other side. Open it up here just a little. You'll see that's where that seam is. You want to just roll it out, press it out to make sure you have a nice, good seam on there. Sorry.
and I just went straight down on that. This takes the most time out of everything.
So then she's bringing it back over to her ironing or her sewing machine.
I was like my ironing board.
So we have one seam done, and we're just gonna do that second seam. It's still gonna be inside out. You're still ironing or sewing, sorry, excuse me, still sewing that hem
Don't know why my scissors are over there. Just gonna flip it and do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm sewing really fast for time's sake. Do not forget your back stitch on the top and bottom. Always back stitch, it'll save your life. So then you're not gonna flip it just yet. you're gonna take this part off your machine, and then you're just gonna, I need to
show them what you did. Why we do a French seam.
What?
So here's what the French seam is. So there's no frayed edges
Oh.
at all. So all those seams are hidden within all of the stitches. So when you wash it or wear it, you don't have to worry about it coming apart. You don't have to worry about cutting any threads off that are sticking out.
Pretty
Everything
nice.
is sewn within a casing.
And if it doesn't line up, that is okay. But I need to hem this real fast.
So next, what she's doing is she's going back to her ironing board. And this is the last thing that you're going to be doing on your skirt now, is sewing your top hem.
Remember, you guys did this at the beginning too. I just didn't, she didn't do this side. So then you just, this is why you do it at the beginning, because I can't. I'll just fold it over. As long as you have a thing, you'll be fine.
So basically what she was talking about, sorry, remember we sewed it or ironed it over a ½ inch here, and then we ironed it again at another 2 inches. So both of your sides should be ironed over. So you're gonna flip that first ½ inch. And you should see your creases right on there at the top here. And we're just gonna give it a good quick press. And then you're gonna sew it down to where you see the other crease at the 2 inch mark. And kind of tuck those in, make sure that you have your ½ inch tucked in. Your sides you wanna line up, and make sure that your side hems are going in one direction so that it doesn't get bunched up all craziness. But make sure that all your hems are sewn and ironed, excuse me, I keep messing up, sorry, I apologize, are ironed down into your casing. So your casing will look like this, where you have that ½ inch hem and your 2 inch hem. Now she's ready to go back to the sewing machine.
So when you took that piece off, all it does is just give you more room to sew. So you're just gonna tuck it in, and then you can really start wherever, it doesn't really matter. Just do not start on the side where this is at. So then again, you're just gonna go back stitch. And what I like to do is I like to use the inside of the presser foot as my guide. And then stop, pull it through, adjust anything if you need to. Some people like to pin this down. I don't, I just like to just go.
It does make it a lot easier to
And then you're gonna leave about, I'd say, a couple inches just so you can put your elastic in. And then backstitch and then open it up.
You're not gonna sew your casing closed. There's gonna be a gap, about a 1.5 to 2 inch gap, and I'll have Sophia show that to you once she gets done clipping her threads.
Okay. Oh, why don't you just come closer?
So right here, you'll see that this is still open so that we can place our elastic within the casing.
So if you're making a skirt for yourself, you would just take the elastic and just stretch it around your waist, you know, just to see. And you always want to stretch your elastic so then it'll be tight. But since this is not for me, I just like to take it, place it, and then stretch it to whatever number the waist was. And then, you know, it's right here. So I just take this, cut it, and then, can you do this? The elastic part.
So usually take a pin and just kind of push it through your elastic here. I think she broke herself with the needle, so she has to clean that up.
You're good.
So you're just gonna take your elastic and push it through the casing using a needle. That hem that's on the side, it might get a little bit tricky. Just kind of try to maneuver past it. You always want to hold the edge of your elastic on one side while you're pushing through the other end into the casing.
I like to hold it in my mouth just because it makes everything easier.
It's not always sanitary.
But I mean, who's going to be touching that part? And you throw it through the wash anyways.
And as you're stretching it through, it's going to get tighter and tighter. Just try your best so that you have one side that you're pushing through come out while you're still holding the other end. What I like to do, so I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of all bunched out together.
I got it. I got it.
Take it to the machine while Sophia gets bandaged up.
No, for real.
And again, your two pieces of elastic, try to make sure that they are flat together, and you can run it through your machine where they're flat. Some other people seem more comfortable where they kind of loop it and place them top and bottom and then run it through the machine. So it all depends, again, on your preference, what you feel is
Most comfortable or
easier
easier.
for you to do. But if you do it this way, make sure you are only sewing the top and the bottom. Push this elastic outward. And what I always tell people in my sewing machine classes, we're just running it back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't have to look pretty. No one's going to see it. You can do it 5 times, you can do it 10 times, whatever you prefer to make sure that you know that elastic is going to stay put after you have sewn it.
So now that this is done, you're just going to take it and just stretch it out. And then flip it. And this does seem a little small, but it's for like a little girl. And, you know, again, it stretches out. And the only reason that we leave the that little gap in our elastic is just so your skirt is adjustable. So we like to leave all our skirts adjustable. And then you can iron it out or run it through the wash too. That makes it good, but this is a little girl skirt.
You always want to run this through the washing machine because you want to wash out that glue that you use to put the ribbons down. You can wash it like you would wash any of your normal clothes. You can use detergent. You can use You can use your fabric softener, however you usually wash your clothes. You can also hand wash it if you just want to run it through whatever it is, you're just making sure that you're washing that glue out of it. That's why we use the Elmer's glue, because it is washable and comes right out. I prefer to tell my people when we make the skirts to hang dry them. It helps with the shrinkage, especially for the cotton. It can shrink, otherwise maybe a light dry and
Or air dry.
Air dry it, but a light dry, and then run an iron over it just to crease it out again, make it all pretty, ready to be worn again.
This is also a skirt that I made with the ribbons going apart. And, you know, this is one that would just go up a little past my knees, but you can see the elastic, you know, it stretches. This is like something, this is a little more in style. You know, a lot of younger people like to do. I don't know if you can see it on mine too. But that is just something some people do. It just depends on preference. But I hope you guys enjoyed the demonstration. I hope you guys learned it. I hope, you know, you guys can take this into your own home, make your own skirts, you know, for your family, for your community, children, yourself. But I'd just like to say chimigwich to everybody. You know, be safe during our pandemic, and yeah. Oh no, she doesn't want to come in the frame, so.
Hi, thanks ladies. Thanks everyone who watched our video. Excuse our crafts room. You can see that we're always busy sewing every day. So we have things everywhere. So thank you for looking, listening, and learning with us.
Thank you, Sophia.
Are there any questions that any of you ladies have? Any comments?
Let me read a couple comments. Very pretty skirt. Thanks for showing us how to make it. That came from Sharon. And Heather.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So awesome and beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again.
Jason, do you want to put up slides so we can finish for the day? Oh, and there was a question. What is the gray rainbow skirt fabric?
This is just cotton. It's just a calico fabric. That's all it is. So it has little flowers on it, but it's just cotton.
Thank you.
I use cotton for all of my skirts.
Any other questions from anybody before we just go into our final two slides? All right. So we do have an online evaluation at mccneb.edu/IIEEVAL. We'd love for you to go there. And then our next Native American Heritage Month program is tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday, November 10th from 2 to 3 p.m. And that is Kimberly Teehee, who is Cherokee, and she has had many important positions in government relations. She's worked with the Obama administration, currently the Director of Government Relations with the Cherokee Nation. So we're looking forward to seeing anybody who wants to join us tomorrow for that. But before we quickly leave, and I'm sorry that I'm kind of rushing, thank you so much to Sophia and to her mother, Jennifer. It's been a beautiful afternoon, and thank you all for staying with us. And if you have any questions for Sophia that you didn't get answered, you can always send them to me, and I can make sure that Sophia gets back to you. Have a nice evening, everybody.